Hello, everyone, and welcome to Custa News Network or something. I don't really know what we're gonna call this. This just sort of came to me in a dream this morning. But what I'm gonna do is at the start of the week we've just finished the Overwatch League weekend. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do a recap video at the beginning of the week, because usually I start my stream up and we just talk about stuff for about an hour. And I thought, hey, maybe I should just cut this up and put it on YouTube like I do my VOD reviews, because people will find it interesting. And maybe people will stop coming into my channel and asking the same question a million times. I can just point them to my YouTube. So we're going to talk about essentially the news cycle that happened in this most recent week, talk about the matches that happened over the weekend, the important things to talk about, any drama, all that kind of crazy stuff. So we got a lot of cool things to come up in this video. So like just for a taste, we're going to talk about the striker situation on the Boston Uprising. We're going to talk about the changes of the Boston Uprising and the success they had against the Justice. We're going to talk about the Shock and the Outlaw, the Shock and the Gladiators reverse sweep, and the Sadiators part 2327. We'll talk about the APAC region and everything going on there. And at the end, I'm going to do a tier list. So I'm going to keep a running tier list throughout the season. And we'll do that at the end of my weekly recap videos. Yeah, so let's just jump into it. Let's just get into it and talk about the things. So let's talk about the matches that we just saw in this weekend. There wasn't anything too interesting in the opening week, in the opening day for the West. We'll start with the West. Washington Justice beat the Paris Eternal. Paris had some okay moments, but Washington Justice looked to be in good form. It feels like Paris were sort of like relying on a lot of like Darn Winston now, but they're going back and forth. I don't feel like they've really worked out what they're doing. And Washington Justice, so we thought, were looking really good. And I'll mold at the end of this talking about the West, but I was saying Florida beat New York Excelsior. Nothing too crazy there. Florida just are the better team. NYXL seems to be going backwards. They don't look good right now, and they got some serious problems to fix. Dallas Fuel is better than Troy Defiant, not surprising at all. Hanbin is so fucking good at the game. If you don't think Hanbin is incredible at the game or one of the best players in the game, you're just wrong at this point. His Zaya is nasty. So keep an eye out for them. We haven't even seen much Fearless either. Houston Outlaws beat down the London Spitfire in a strange game. Houston Outlaws played the Doomfist, and London Spitfire didn't really have an answer to it. We expected the Doomfist to be good against the London Spitfire. I said 3-2 because I thought Dante might not play due to COVID. But he just played and bullied them. In the third map though, Circuit Royale, Chatty dominated Piggy. There was a big old MTD on Circuit Royale, but somehow London Spitfire like fell on their tank difference and like slipped up and somehow threw that map away. Like they finished the map of Circuit Royale, which is usually like an insta win on Circuit Royale, but I don't know. Somehow they brought it back. I think it was on the back of Merit Hanzo. Like Merit Hanzo was just like, fuck it, I'll do it myself. And he just kind of like went ham. But Hattie definitely outplayed the crap out of Piggy on the main tank. And that does make me worried for the Houston Outlaws, because now we know that they're struggling on the Winston and the Reinhardt. So Piggy has a ways to go on these main tanks. Hardy 5K. Yeah, can someone get me a link for the Hardy 5K? I want to show that. Because Hardy actually, he actually dominated him. And he actually had some really good moments. So I'm all for the Hardy redemption arc right now, even if he is only playing Reinhardt. They posted on Twitter. I think they did. Someone posted on Twitter. San Francisco Shock. I got this one perfectly correct. San Francisco Shock successfully reverse sweep the Los Angeles Gladiators. I feel bad for them at this point. I feel bad. It's just like, come on. How is this like a franchise thing? Like they were looking so good, and they were playing really well. I think the San Francisco Shock were the better team. I kind of want to talk about the San Francisco Shock here. Actually, let's pause real quick. Actually, let's watch the chatty video first, and then we'll talk about the San Francisco. Watch this. Look at this MTD. Gets the big shatter on both of them. Fire strike through the window. Clean pin. This fire strike, the look away. The look away is what does it for me. Cool guys don't look at explosions. Hey? Chatty doesn't look at his explosions. He just gets his 5K, just walks on out. Absolute legend. Yeah. But let me talk about the Gladiators then. He doesn't even look phased. It's because he does it every day. You know? He's a legend. He does that in ranked all the time. We just never appreciate it. So the San Francisco Shock and the Los Angeles Gladiators. Let's talk about it. Because I didn't like what they did in the match. We can all agree San Francisco Shock is probably next to Dallas Fuel, the best team in North America. Absolutely dominant. Their rookies are playing really, really well. But I didn't like some of the decisions that they made in this match. They played the Moira composition on that first round on King of the Hill. Instead of playing the Ana, they're leaning into playing this like Moira. They even played Doomfist, right? It was like Moira Doomfist on the first point. It didn't look great. It felt like they were sort of not as comfortable as they were playing, you know, the regular Winston. And it felt weird that they were forcing it. Maybe they were struggling in scrims in, you know, the head-to-head, and or they were losing to the Xayah, so they couldn't play the Winston. It was interesting in that first map, but like that's not that crazy, like playing Moira instead of Ana. It has some semblance of sense. The biggest one that I had a problem with was the Kilo and Proper switch on Midtown. On Midtown, what happened is like they were doing pretty well. They almost finished the map with Kilo on Soldier and Proper on Tracer. And Proper's Tracer is better than Kilo's from what it looks like. It has come out since then that Proper did have food poisoning, or he was sick for this weekend, so maybe he wasn't feeling great. But Proper was doing fine on the Tracer. Like, people are saying, oh, he was getting diffed by Custa. I didn't really see that difference. Like, I don't think Proper was dominating the server like we know him for. Custa was playing well, but it really felt like they were going blow for blow on that map. But in the reverse, like people were, when we were talking about the switch of the Soldier Tracer switch by these two players, Kilo was pounding on the Soldier. He was hard diffing Patty Fan on the Soldier. And when they made this switch in halftime of like switch to Tracer Soldier player, Proper was not having that same level of impact on the Soldier, and Kilo was getting rolled by Kevster. So they talked to Kilo after the map. Danny did, and he got some insight. And Kilo said, our coaches wanted me to have experience playing Tracer on Midtown in a match, which, you know, I respect them giving Kilo reps on the Tracer. Maybe I don't agree with it on, you know, against the Gladiators when it is really close and it felt like it could easily have slipped away from them. Like, that could have easily been a moment where they just get 3-0'd, right? Like, if they just go on and lose 3-0, it's like, well, was it really worth taking that risk and getting those reps in? They bully all these weaker teams. Surely that he could have got those reps in against a weaker team. I don't know. You know, obviously they have great coaching staff on the San Francisco Shock. I don't completely agree with that decision, but hey, they won in the end. So, you know, who's laughing now? But the Gladiators, I don't think played badly at all. I think, interestingly enough, I think they actually played really solidly. And I don't think this was a hard fumble by the Gladiators like we've seen in the past. I just don't think they had the firepower to go toe-to-toe with the San Francisco Shock. We're going to be reviewing this match at some point in this week, and this will be up on my YouTube. But yeah, it was an interesting one. The other part of this match for the San Francisco Shock that I had questions about was putting Sam in for map 5 when he hasn't played the series at all was dangerous. In my opinion, very dangerous by the San Francisco Shock, because Sam even said it himself, he did not play well in map 5. They won map 5, but Sam was not very good. His Genji got bullied in the first 2 rounds. He had some good moments, but like for the quality of play that we were seeing in that match, he just struggled. And I don't blame him at all. It is very hard to throw a player in cold when everyone else is focused, they're completely warmed up, they're ready for this map 5, and Sam just comes in. I've been in that situation in Valiant in that stage 1 of season 2 in 2019 when I was coming in only to play King of the Hill. And I got subbed in for map 5, and I can tell you, especially when you're in a high pressure map, when you're going to the final map and you haven't played at all in that series, it's very hard to get into the game and feel comfortable in the game because it's just you're not ready. Your mental's not into the game. It's hard to stay focused. Yes, some players can get away with that, but I know myself and many other players who I've talked to have struggled with the exact same thing, and it's just a competitive thing, right? You're just not in there. So they got away with it again in this match, but in a situation in which Gladiators play better, that we could be talking about this series very differently, right? And the thing that I want to focus when I talk about these things is like, if they had lost map 5, there would have been a lot of blame on Sam because he didn't play that well in that map. I know if they lost that is the first thing I would have highlighted. I would have been like, they should not have put Sam in. Regardless of if they practiced, if they'd done all these kind of things, that would have been a big problem. And then the same thing with the Midtown switch, right? Like if they had gone on to just get 3-0 with that series and then that Kilo's proper switch happened, there's more eyes on that moment. And I think it's easy to shake them under the rug when they win the match, but it doesn't change the fact that they need to keep being better and they need to keep improving and not have these like minor fumbles where it feels like the players aren't put in the position to succeed. But hey, that's just my 2 cents. All right, let's keep moving on. Boston Uprising versus Toronto Defiant. Boston Uprising are continuously doing their sub roulette, but we'll talk about that when we talk about the Justice map. Toronto Defiant is still looking good. I think Toronto Defiant are at the bottom tier of these, like the Houston Outlaws, the Atlanta Reign. Like I would say they're just a bit above the Florida Mayhem or like Washington Justice. Like I think Toronto's like near Washington right now for me because like it just feels like they're not beating a lot of the top end teams, but they're beating everyone else, right? So it's hard to really know where exactly they stand. Toronto, Houston-ish, yeah, kind of around there. But I don't see them exceeding expectations too much more. We've seen a really weird switch for them in this weekend where they didn't play any Finale. There was rumors that Muse and Finale were sick, but we have no truth to that right now. Yo, Brent, thank you very much for the raid. What is up, party people? We have no truth to that. So it just seems weird that they were having a lot of success playing Muse on the Winston and Finale on the Tracer, and then we just haven't seen it since they had that success, and they're relying on like Although to play the Genji Echo, and then Hopper playing the Zarya, and it's not a bad look for them. I just don't. I would like to see them be able to switch Muse in because I think we saw some Hopper's Monkey, and it wasn't great. Philly vs. Shock in the finals 2022. Bren comes in and says Philly vs. Shock in the... Dude, honestly, I'd be down for it. That is so many fucking rookies. Like, how many rookies would be in that match? It would be like 70% of that match would be rookies if they still had the teams. I'd be down. Honestly, I'd be down. But no. Fusion for the win. Yeah, we'll talk about Fusion in a bit. Vancouver Titans versus Atlanta Reign. Ain't great. Atlanta, we got to see the debut of Venom on the Tracer. That's pretty much the only role we expect Venom to come in and play. Looks good. Venom's a great Tracer player. Who would have thunk it? Vancouver Titans. False Zarya looks good. They should play more False Zarya. Their Psycho Doomfist gameplay, it's okay. But I think if you want to win games, and they need to play to their strengths, and False Winston isn't a strength by a long way. He's just not that great at Winston. So they need to go to what they're good at. And I think he looks good when he plays that Zarya. And I think they were actually competitive with Atlanta when they played that Zarya and had some moments of brilliance, right? Paris Eternal versus Dallas Fuel. Dallas is just way better than Paris is. Not much more you can say about that one. And then Boston Uprising versus the Washington fucking justice, dude. Like, come on, Washington. Wait, what do you mean? What are you doing? Bruh, like, they 1 week, they look incredible. They're brilliant. They're like, Decay's sticking the world. Mag is playing flawlessly. They're coordinating. They're moving together. Everything's looking great. And then the next week, they just can't string a dive together to save their lives. I will not defend the Washington Justice this season. I gave them my hope. And then they're going to go and lose to Boston? And it's like the ultimate slap in the face because I've been downplaying Boston, saying that they're bad this entire season. And then Washington, the team that I just defended, gets beaten by Boston. Okay. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but Washington was just not the Washington that we thought they were going to be. Boston is a professional organization. So let's talk about Boston, the match, and all the drama that's ensuing with this, okay? So we have the Boston Uprising is when they play... When they play Punk on the main, Punk on the tank, and he plays Zai. Even the Punk Winston, I can get behind. Even the Punk Winston, it looks good. It's honestly, in my opinion, looks better than Itzel's. Okay? Crimzo is pounding on the Ana. He's Ana on that 4th map that Crimzo played on New Queen Street. He was dominant. He slept everyone. He was staying alive. He was hitting big nades. He was getting value. Punk and Crimzo is the path to success. Victoria looked good on the Soldier. It was the best look we've seen from the Soldier. And from what we've heard from tweets as well, is that Victoria was not scrimming this upcoming week for this weekend's matches. Because of Striker and everything that happened with Striker, apparently Victoria was thrown in last minute and he looked good on the Soldier. I got no problems with how that looks. Apparently Valentine knows how to play Tracer. Fucking beats me. Every time I saw it in the past, it did not look great. But apparently he's a good Tracer now. Fuck it. Send. Full send. Don't even care. Don't even want to care. Don't even want to doubt it. We're just full sending Valentine Tracer. It's a good look. When they played it, they were outplaying the Washington Justice. It wasn't some crazy counter strategy. They were just outplaying the Washington Justice with this Zaya composition. They need to stick to this composition. They must stick with these players and this composition for the rest. Because yes, with this kind of rigid play and rigid style, they're not going to beat the Dallas Fuel. You're not going to win the Zaya Mirror. Yes, you're probably not going to beat the Los Angeles Gladiators, but you're never going to beat these teams. Boston just needs to be the best of the rest. They need to do what the London Spitfire have done, where they just play Brawl. Just stick to what you're good at. And if you have to play Winston, okay, Punk, play Winston. Good luck. Don't feed too much. Okay? That's where I think Boston needs to go. And I think that's a pretty obvious one. But like, let's talk about this as well. Why did they sub Itzel Winston? Like, if they did it on like Watchpoint Gibraltar, I would be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah, okay, you know, you need to play the Winston, you know, it kind of makes sense, right? Circuit Royale is when you're going to sub the Winston in. Even teams that are one-tricking Winston aren't playing Winston on Circuit Royale. Like, what? I don't understand this decision at all. Literally, there are so many good off-tank like characters that you can play. Like, it's a Sigma map. Punk has a great Sigma. Just play Punk Sigma. But they could have also just played the Zaya. Just keep playing the Zaya on the 3rd map. There's some weird stuff going on at the Boston Uprising. So let's talk about Striker. Because this is the moment I want to remind everyone that like 2 months ago, when I did my preseason power rankings and when we were like barely even into the season, I said Striker will retire before the season finishes. And it has been rumored by Halo, but almost everything points in the direction that it is true because we had Marvel get released this morning. Completely irrelevant to Striker. But I'm not going to talk too much about the Marvel situation. Let me just hit it real quick. Marvel sounds like he's having some personal issues. He is not bunched in with the Striker coup or whatever happened. Marvel's on his own. He's unfortunately having to leave the team. Disappointing, but I don't, it is what it is. That's not too big of a thing. Striker, on the other hand, went up against the professional organization and lost. We have known in the past that Striker is known to have a weird temperament within a team, some dynamic issues that he doesn't do well with losing, and he struggles when that happens. If that is the truth, he should not have joined the Boston Uprising. And this has come back to bite them in the ass. We didn't see Striker at all this weekend. It is rumored that he is going to be released, and Huck even subtweeted him. Huck gave him a pretty brutal subtweet after they won their match. He said, "No one player is greater than the team." Fucking tombstoning Striker out of the league. Professional organization, and this is the most obvious example of Striker's obviously tried to take a stand on the team, or I don't know what's happened, and he's on the way out. So Striker will probably get dropped by the Boston Uprising as per Halo's tweet, and I would be surprised if anyone signs Striker again, because remember, Striker also retired last year with rumors that he was having issues within the San Francisco Shock team. So, I don't think anyone's going to touch Striker. And I think one of the most important things to realize about Striker as well, and I've been seeing this sentiment throughout the entirety of this whole process with Striker. People are like, well, he's the best player on this Boston Uprising. Is he? Is he really? What about his play this year has made you think he's better? Nothing. He was really average when he played. Honestly, I think Victoria played way better than he did Victoria played way better this weekend than he did in the past. And then people are like, yeah, but he's a two-time champion. Yeah, that was in 2020. We're in a different time. We're in a different league. He literally retired last year and barely played as well. Times have changed. People have improved. He was not the best player in the Boston Uprising, and he did not show the best player in Boston Uprising performances this year. So, people can defend him, and people can say that. Yes, he was one of the best tracers in the world. Yes, he was one of the best DPS players in the past. I think Boston has a much better chance if they just do what I said before, and they just stick with those 5 players. They just play Victoria, Valentine, Punk, Crimzo, Faith. Stick with those 5 players. Find a style that works with them. They will get wins. They will get wins. They won't get a lot of wins, but they will get wins. And I think that they can play well. Those are good players. And I think that is a good team. So I want to see them really stick to that. And I think that is the path forward for them. Okay. That's all I'm going to talk on that. Actually, I do want to highlight Punk as well. Dude, Punk gave the greatest PR answer. If you want to learn how to be a player and do interviews, just watch that Punk interview. That was great. He kind of mentioned the Striker situation while also keeping it civil, while also giving a nod to everything that was happened. He didn't blame the coaches with everything that's happened. He said we're a team and that we deserve, we all trust each other and we're all just trying to get wins as a unit. He didn't try and isolate players. It was great. That was a great interview. And he gave a shout out to Johnny on being a professional organization. 10 out of 10 interview by your boy Punk. 10 out of 10 interview, Let's make Punk the face of the league. Fuck it. Super's gone. Punk is my new best friend. Can we watch it? No, it's going to take too long. I don't want to hit it too hard. All right, I went the wrong way. So, let's talk about APAC. Let's talk about APAC, okay? So, we had the opening weekend, and the Philadelphia Fusion booty bopped the Shanghai Dragons. Well, it wasn't booty bopped, but they won 3-0. The Shanghai Dragons had a weird opening weekend. In the first game that they played against the Philadelphia Fusion, they played almost exclusively Void, if I'm correct. And then in their next match against the Hangzhou Spark, they played almost exclusively Fate, with I think Void came in for one map. I can't remember which one it was. But yeah, so Shanghai Dragons don't seem like they're set in exactly how they play it. Maybe it was map dependent. I haven't looked at both of these matches too quickly. Under a microscope. I haven't looked at it too closely because they happened overnight and I've been working since then. So Philadelphia Fusion though look sick. I want to shout out Zest. I think there's been a lot of hype on like MN3 and, you know, Carpe, but I think Zest was legit on everything he played. The Genji, the Echo, the Tracer. Zest is giving a good reason for why that he should never be subbed out. It feels like Carpe is filling that role of like the soldier, while Zest is like the soldier tracer, while Zest is like the flex DPS, and then MN3 is coming in to play the hit scan. So very similar to what you see from the San Francisco Shock with how they like to sub Kilo, Proper, and Sam. So very similar thing for the Philadelphia Fusion. I really like Belos Ria. Zest or Proper? I would still say Proper right now, but hey, you know, we've only seen a couple of matches from Zest so far. Let me warm up a little bit to him. I think Belos Ria was really good on the Winston when they decided to play that dive, but they also had the ability to bring in Fury if they wanted to play those off-tank roles, and that also looked good. Like, literally, I got no problems. I got no problems with what Philly's doing, and I was not shocked to see Shanghai Dragons get 3-0'd by that roster. It was still competitive, and like Shanghai Dragons, you know, it still makes somewhat sense. But yeah, crazy to see. Guangzhou Charge and the Los Angeles Valiant. Guangzhou, I put a lot of faith into you. I really did. I hyped you up everywhere on Plat Chat, in my power rankings, and they just haven't done it. They don't look very good. They played 3 matches this weekend. They beat the Valiant. Then they got bopped by Chengdu and bopped by Philly. And I think off the bat, there are 2 main issues that I'm seeing with the Guangzhou Charge from what I've watched from them so far. Unique, not doing so hot. He's really struggling on both the Lucio and the Brig. He's just getting isolated. He's just getting thing. His ultimate usage was really poor. And the other one is Rio. And like the elephant in the room for the Guangzhou Charge has always been Rio. Like no one's ever been like, you know who I like on tank? Rio. I think he's really good. Maybe in 2019. But, you know, we've come so far since there, and I think Rio, like, that moment, the one that sticks out to me is, you guys remember Eichenwald, where he just tries to jump? I think it was in their match against Philly, where he just tried to, like, jump at the soldier, and he just died, and I was like, I would have done that jump. It was not good. So I think you can see the identity, but I don't really like what Guangzhou is doing right there, and I don't think their rookies had anywhere near as good of performances as we've seen from other teams. So my Guangzhou stockpile has also, you know, stonk market has also taken a hit. So Guangzhou and Washington Justice are really leaving me burnt. Bo believes in Rio. All right, Bo's got to go. Bo, I'm sorry, I love you, buddy, but you're like, this is a lot. It's a lot. Free Choice of One. Choice of One did look good. I think Choice of One was, I think Choice of One and Faraway for the Guangzhou Charge. Okay, chat. Do you want to hear meowing for the rest of the video? Okay, don't answer that because you're going to say yes. But like a Choice of One and Faraway looked really good. I really like what they were doing. Like in terms of like their synergy. I think they were both making great individual plays. So those 2 can stay. Everything else was a little sussy. Develop did not impress me. I hyped up Develop a lot, and it just didn't. It wasn't great. But hey, maybe they'll improve. I think it was Nero who responded to my BP hatred with that. We just got to trust the process. Okay, so I'm going to trust the process from a distance while I pred against them and put them at the bottom of my power rankings. Actually, not true. Los Angeles Valiant are not a throw anymore, which is nice. I believe the statistics was the Los Angeles Valiant has already won more maps than they did the entirety of last year, which, first of all, is just really sad. Second of all, they're not that bad of a team. There is arguments to be made that Valiant is better than Guangzhou. you know, like they went to map 5 with Seoul, they went to map 5 with Hangzhou, sorry. But they, like, Valiant lost to Guangzhou. So for me, it's hard to put Valiant above Guangzhou when they just lost to them. I think this upcoming weekend, if Valiant still looks solid and they still look competitive with these other teams and Guangzhou still looks bad, I think I'll do that switch. But for right now, I can't justifiably do that when they just lost to them. But Valiant, I actually don't hate the look of Valiant. I like Sashin on the Zarya. They're leaning into what they're good at. We know Sashin is a great Zarya player. Thank you very much. He's popping off. He's doing a great job on that role. No flexibility, but it's like the Boston narrative and the London narrative. If you're not as good as everyone else at all these other things, just play what you're good at. We saw Dia. Dia was really nice. Still looks to be a really good hit scan. I was surprised we saw a lot of Becky. I was expecting, you know, some of the other players, but Becky actually impressed me. I actually liked what I saw from Becky. And yeah, like it made sense what he was playing. Made plays, did his job. We saw a little bit of Ezhan, but I don't know if I've watched it. So I might have to go and check that out. I think we're going to be watching Seoul vs Valiant this weekend, so I want to look at it a little bit closer. But yeah. Silver 3 still on the roster? No. If Silver 3 was still on the roster, they would still yet to win a map. You know, I don't like to be mean, but Silver 3 makes Rio look like a top tier main tank. So I'm glad that they have Sashin on the roster now. Easy Han? Yeah, okay. Seoul Dynasty. I don't even know, like, where do you put this team? Like, this team was like, oh, we got bodied by Hangzhou, and then we went to map 5 with Valiant. You're like, oh man, Seoul's looking pretty sus this year. And then they played Chengdu, and like, dude, that was a different team. Like, how does this keep happening to Seoul? Can't Seoul just like pick a lane and then run with it? Like, we're gonna be firmly second or third and just run with it. No, they're gonna be one match, they have to be like bottom of APAC, and then the next match, all of a sudden they're like the best team in the league. This match versus Chengdu, they were good. Like, Smurf was pounding, Prophet was playing like it's the playoffs. Like, everything was looking good. Everything was coming together. Viddame looks great, but we didn't see that in their first 2 matches. There was a lot of weird plays, and like that sort of sums up everything we've seen from the APAC region. It doesn't make any sense right now. Like, there's like a weird graph of who's beating who and who's losing to who and who had good performances here and there. Like, I don't know. It's just weird. I don't really know how to place everyone right now. But yeah, Seoul look like they can play to the performance that we were expecting from them this year, but I still seem to have the issue with inconsistency, and we'll see if that continues to be a trend. Maybe they were nervous. We'll see. Can we get a paint drawing of the APAC region? Okay. So, in the middle, no, at the top, we have Philly, okay? So this is Philly, okay? This is the APAC, we're going to talk about the APAC region. And then we have Shanghai, okay? And then let's put Guangzhou, one second. Zoom out. Oh, okay. Let's put Guangzhou here, okay? But they beat the Valiant, but we're going to use green for Valiant because memes. Valiant is like a side grade to Guangzhou, but Guangzhou beat them, but they look good. So then it gets weird because Hangzhou's over here being like trying to sell their Alpha Yi stocks to everyone, and Johnny's bought in. Johnny is bought in and he's hodling. But like, Hangzhou could be above Shanghai, but they also had some bad performances. And then what else happened? So Hangzhou beat the Valiant, but only by a little bit, okay? So it's like, Valiant can go up, okay? Because of this, okay? So like, they played up to their performance, but the Valiant lost to the Guangzhou Charge. So you gotta be careful about where you're talking, all right? And then we got Seoul. Seoul. Okay. Seoul could be number one, but they also could be like here. Okay. You guys following? And then Chengdu. Shit, we need a color for Chengdu. What do we make? Brown. Chengdu's just here in the middle. Okay. So Chengdu got rolled by Seoul. But they could be below Seoul as well. For that reason. But remember, Seoul could underperform and go below Chengdu. Shanghai, we have high expectations for. But I don't think anyone can expect them to be the best. But they have the roster for it. But from this weekend, you can't agree with that. So I think this is around what makes sense. Seoul cannot be number one. No, they can be. Did you watch them play against Chengdu? They could be number one. Understand nothing? Perfect. All right, so that is the APAC region summarized in one picture, okay? Against Chengdu. Hey, it doesn't matter. Proper plays like that, they can beat anyone. Okay? No, we're not going to save it. I don't think we save that. I'm not sure if it's gonna solve anything. So that's kind of where I feel about the APAC region. As I said, I haven't watched all these matches too in depth, so I can't speak to all the little things too much. Let's talk about it in a general sense. The APAC region is fucking weird. They are leaning more on Zaya, it feels like, but they also play a lot of Ashe. Like, an absurd amount of Ashe. But they also like to play Echo, but when they play Echo, they play it with a Mercy. And for that reason, we've seen like some Ashe, Echo, Mercy compositions. So it kind of feels like they're playing a Zaya as if it's like a shield tank, and like you just stand behind the Zaya, and then you can't be dove because the Zaya can bubble you. It makes sense, but I feel like you just straight lose to a good dive. Because like you obviously have an absurd amount of damage with Echo, with Ashe, you do a ton of damage. But it felt like, how many times did we see over the weekend where someone started Ashe, got dove, switched? Like, I think I saw it like 5 or 6 times in the APAC region where they start Ashe, just get absolutely fucking rolled, and then just switch to Soldier. It's like, just play Soldier. Like, Soldier's so good in this patch, it doesn't make any sense. Did we see any Doomfist from the APAC region? Does anyone know? I don't think we saw a few times. Yeah, I don't remember it like anyone really coming out with it. Stalls, Chengdu. Okay, I might have missed that one, but I haven't really seen it a lot. It definitely was not as big of a thing in the Eastern region as it is in the West. I would say they're also playing a surprisingly amount of less Winston. It feels like they're playing a lot more Zaya, but we're already starting to see the West transition into that way, right? We're seeing the West transition into Zaya. Teams that can play the Zaya are starting to make that move, because it feels like if you play the Zaya defensive counter dive in a way, well, the Winston really struggles to get value, and it feels like you just get poked down. APAC played D.Va 2. APAC did a lot of shit that made not a lot of sense. And it was like a lot of things where they did it like once and then they switched off, as if like they just realized that D.Va isn't good. So it definitely, the meta seems very unsolved in the Eastern region, and it feels like a lot of people playing to comfort than anything else, which I don't have a problem with, but there were definitely a couple of picks that were just like big old question marks. Okay. Is there anything else we needed to talk about? No, I think that's about right. So you know what time it is then? We gotta do our power rankings. So, how are we gonna do this? Let's do the West. Seoul and Sombra. Oh yeah, the APAC region did play some Sombra. And what did we learn? Sombra isn't good. People need to stop trying to play Sombra. I kind of get it. Christopher actually did a great interview with Yiska actually recently where he was talking about why they played Sombra. And Christopher essentially said is like, we don't think Sombra is good, but it's the only good viable option that we have to switch to against the Doomfist. And that made sense to me. But I think overall, Sombra just isn't good. Shock. I kind of want to put Dallas above Shock. Yeah, like, hear me out. Here's why. Here's why. I feel like so many of us get so stuck on this one Houston Outlaws match. But I think Dallas has just been so good outside of that. Like, if I was, like, if you ask me, Dallas versus Shock right now, who wins? Especially in the head-to-head, I think Dallas wins because I think the Xayah composition is better than the Winston composition. So I think Dallas would win that matchup. So for that reason, I have to put Fuel above Shock. It's fucking close though. And it doesn't matter who's 1 and who's 2. The only thing that matters is that they're both going to be in the finals. And I hope we see these two teams forced into it. That's just no. Shock so much more flexible. Yeah, maybe. But as I said, this isn't a power rankings for, I should actually describe this. This isn't a power rankings for the overall long-term success of the team. I agree that Dallas Fuel haven't looked as good on the Winston compositions. They've been switching Sparkle and Doha around. It's been some weird stuff. But if I was going to watch these two teams face right now, I would pred Dallas Fuel. So I have to put them there. And I think the Gladiators go here. They got to go above the tier break. Gladiators have, I believe, lost to both the Dallas Fuel and the Shanghai San Francisco Shock now in double reverse sweeps. So, they have to be in the tier. But hey, Gladiators, let's just win and not get reverse swept. Like, honestly, I feel like I would feel better about them if they just lost 3-1. But they just keep getting reverse swept, which makes me think they mentally boom. They got a mental block. So it worries me for them going into the playoffs if they're going to be able to perform when it matters most. Just don't get reverse swept forehead. That's my hard hitting analysis. Don't get reverse swept. All right. So we got a tier break. So then we need to talk about these teams. Atlanta, Houston, Toronto, Toronto, Washington Justice. So I think, where do I want to put these? So I just putting these all here and then I'm putting the tier break. Houston haven't shown me flexibility yet. I have not liked anything other than when they can play the Doomfist against good performance. I think I have to put Atlanta here. I think Atlanta needs to go 4, and then I think it does go Houston, and then Toronto. I don't know how to feel about Toronto right now because of the Muse Finale stuff. I like it when they play Muse Finale. It doesn't look bad when they play Hopper. But I don't know, man. It just... Maybe I'm just down on them because of the Dallas Fuel loss. I don't know. Something in my heart of hearts just doesn't trust Toronto. I just don't like the consistency. I haven't seen much. I think they'll get good as yeah, and I think they will as well. I don't... Maybe there needs to be a tier break here. No, there doesn't. I'm putting Washington below Florida. I'm happy. I think it goes Atlanta, Houston, Toronto. I'm fine with that. I'm honestly fine with that. I like the look that we saw from Atlanta Reign. I like the Winston, so that's why I'm going to put them at 4. Houston looked good on the Doomfist, but they got so hard countered by the Washington Justice that I think they're going to struggle against some of these other teams. Toronto goes here. I think they're a strong team, and I think they could easily move up. But as I said, I have too many question marks. Florida Mayhem has been a very solid team and performing very well. They seem to understand how they want to play. They understand the game very well. But the only reason they're going up against the Washington Justice and they're above them is because the Washington Justice are dead to me. Like, straight up. Straight up. I don't even care if it doesn't make sense. I don't even care. Okay? It doesn't make sense. Yes, Washington probably should be above Florida. But until Washington decides that they can play 2 weeks in a row of good gameplay, I am not putting them above Florida. This exact same thing happened last year. It did. And until they can prove to me that they can string it together, I'm not doing it. All right. Vancouver Titans, welcome to the bottom. Then I'm going to put the Paris Eternal, then Boston, then London, then New York. Do I put London above New York? Am I crazy? New York is better? Okay. Thought experiment then, chat. London plays New York right now. Who do you pred? We're not talking about the future or how much you love Gangnam Jin or all that shit. Who do you pick right now? I think I pick London. I think London would beat the New York Excelsior right now. Make a poll? All right, let's do it. New poll. Who wins between NYXL versus London? London, NYXL. Okay, and I saw Patrick say Boston over all these teams. I will put Boston higher. I agree. You know, I'm very high on the Boston Uprising and the Punk Train and all that kind of stuff. Boston will go up in my power rankings when they can go an entire series without subbing 2 of their players out between a map. When I see Itzel and MCD not come out when they're winning, or even just in general, Boston Uprising will go up in my power rankings. But until that happens, I'm not doing it. I can't do it to myself because I'm just going to be disappointed. Boston should lead the 3rd tier break. Do you think there should be a tier break here? But like, here's the thing you need to remember about Paris. Like, this is why I don't want to put them here. Like, they played Dallas, Washington, Toronto, Florida Shock. Like, they've had a brutal season so far. And Khan, yeah, on the Zenyatta was sick. I don't know how you get Khan to play more Zenyatta. If I'm going to put a tier break, I have to do this. Is this just disrespectful? It's the reality. Paris is last. Paris is not last. I think Paris would be better than most of these teams. Like, I just think Paris is getting ruined by the schedule. And I think we've got our head in the toilets about how hard it's been. And who wins between NYXL and London? The poll is in. It is 74% of people with a vote of 226 believe that the London Spitfire is better than NYXL. So they stay above the NYXL. Vote Paris versus NYXL. No, that's I don't want to do too many polls. I think we leave it here. I'm happy with this. Chat, we happy with this? We good? You forgot, well, yeah, obviously I'm about to APAC. We're talking about the West. We good with the West? Boston, number 4. No. Okay, East region, let's go. All right, let's go Eastern region. So Philadelphia Fusion just rockets into first. Easily. Fuck it. It's opening weekend. I'm putting a tier break just so the Philadelphia Fusion fans can feel something for the first time in a while. I'm going to tier break the Philadelphia Fusion. It then needs to go Shanghai Dragons, Hangzhou Spark, thank you very Seoul much, Dynasty, Chengdu. Alright, so yo, Adam, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. I think wobble wobble, motherfucker. Is Chengdu in a tier of their own? Wobble wobble, motherfucker. I think they might be. They're literally the Chengdu zone right now. Because they look good when they were, like, they looked good one game, but then they looked bad in another. And I will be honest, I haven't watched a ton of Chengdu, so I don't know if this is, like, too spicy of a take for a team that I haven't, like, sat down thoroughly and watched yet. Do you think it's fair to put Chengdu here? Wobble wobble, motherfucker. They look bad. It's fair. That's what, like, from what I've seen and the bit that I've watched, like, I don't think I can put them in the same tier as Shanghai, Hangzhou, and Seoul. Where's Hangzhou? Oh, what am I looking for? Hangzhou. Because Hangzhou almost beat Shanghai, but then went to map 5 with the Valiant. But they also beat Seoul. So I guess that makes sense, right? Like, I think this makes sense, right? I actually think this is just right. But it will get better? Yeah, but that's kind of like, do you think it's fair to put Chengdu in the same area as Shanghai, Hangzhou, and Seoul? I don't think it is. Maybe it is. Like, maybe I can just remove this tier break. Seoul dunked on Chengdu? Yeah, like, that's my thing, is like, the only team they beat was the Guangzhou Charge. And, you know, let's be realistic. It's the Guangzhou Charge. Like, they only played 2 games, and Charge are bad. Like, just straight up. I'm gonna leave them there. So Philadelphia Fusion at the top, just because they absolutely booty bopped everyone that they played. Shanghai Dragons goes below that tier because they got booty bopped by Philadelphia Fusion, as I said. But Shanghai looked better when they played the Spark. It was a good match. So, and I think Shanghai and Spark are going to be good. It looks like Spark are playing the right hero, the right people. I don't know exactly if it's the right heroes right now, but they're playing to their strengths. So fuck it, doesn't matter to me. Alpha U's playing like a god. And Seoul Dynasty, that's a hard tier. As I said, they're just completely inconsistent. Chengdu goes into their own tier break because they only beat the Guangzhou Charge, but they got rolled in the second match. Then Guangzhou is going above the LA Valiant. There has to be a tier break there. Guangzhou is going above the LA Valiant for the exact reason that I said before of, I think Valiant is better than Charge from, like, my initial thought process. Should I just put Valiant above Charge? No, Charge beat Valiant. No, it can't. No, chat. Yeah, hey. We're getting silly here. The Charge beat the Valiant 3-1. Hey, it's the end of the discussion. Next week, we will reevaluate. Justice beat the Reign 3-0 and you didn't care. Yeah, but I have a blood feud with the Washington Justice, so it's different. Houston beat Dallas. Yeah, but that's like on that point. It's like, yeah, we put Houston above Dallas and we put Dallas low after that match. But after a week, we realized that was just an anomaly and that was a once-off. Valiant stay at the bottom because they lost to the Charge. They did it to themselves. It's out of my hands. Listen to your heart. You want Valiant over Charge? My heart is stupid. You know what my heart did? Made me believe in the Washington Justice. It doesn't get a say anymore. Aye. That's it. That's our power rings for the week. We got a hot take here. I think it's more believable that Boston won a trap game with what will be the meta comp than Washington is somehow good enough to beat the Reign and Defiant, but is worse than Florida. I think it's more believable that Boston won a trap game with the meta and Washington is somehow good enough to beat. Oh yeah, like as I said, I would not be surprised if we come back this weekend and Washington is good again, and that they just didn't understand how to beat the Zaya. Like, especially if they play against teams that aren't good against the Zaya. If they play a Winston Mirror, I think Washington is very good. But I don't care. We don't come here and we don't talk about this for rationality. No. They've burnt me. I've been scarred. This isn't the first time. For people being like, Custa, you're overreacting. I've been here before. This is not my first rodeo with the Washington Justice. I'm a seasoned Justice hater / believer / hater / believer. And that's usually how it goes in the season. So I'm just in my hater arc. Okay? I'm sure at some point, Washington is going to play really well for a couple of weeks and I'm going to believe in them again just to be let down one more time. But that is the way of the Washington Justice. All right. That's it for my weekly recap. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube if you guys enjoyed it and you want to see more of these things. I'm going to be doing a bunch of VOD reviews this week. Actually, let's go to my pick'ems and show you guys which ones I'm going to be doing.
Custom molding about the Justice. The content I came for.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. The matches we're planning on watching. Oh, I got another donation as well.
If Jimmy was still on Chengdu, they would have easily beaten Seoul Dynasty 3-0.
Easily. Yo, thank you for the 5, thank you for the 3, guys. The matches we're going to be watching on stream, if you guys want to check these out, it's going to be the Shanghai Dragons taking on the Hangzhou Spark. We're going to watch the Philadelphia Fusion take on the Guangzhou Charge, and I believe it's going to be the Seoul Dynasty and the Los Angeles Valiant. Those are the teams we're going to watch in the East. In the West, we're going to be watching the San Francisco Shock reverse sweep the Gladiators, and we're going to be watching the Boston Uprising taking on the Washington Justice, where I mauled out of control. So if you want to check that out, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video if you guys liked the idea of this weekly recap, because I'll probably be doing them from now on as the weeks go on throughout the season. So much love, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.